My freshman year was Black Friday. And so I know. So I played online from the time I was 13 to whatever, 19. And it was, I think, April of...
All right, we got to stop now.
Yeah, okay.
13.
Time out.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy, we making all of this money. Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us slacking. Me and my buddy.
All right, guys, welcome to Table One Podcast. Jesse Young, co-host Art Parman, very special guest, two-time bracelet winner, Dylan Weissman.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, you too. Dylan Weissman or Weisman?
Weisman.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's still young. He'll be a wise man later.
There we go. Yeah. All right. I was doing my research at a bar 5 minutes down the road, so they don't have pronunciations over names, so I didn't want to offend. But either way, so happy to have you here.
Happy to be here, honestly.
Sweet. So, unlike, we had a guest on earlier that had a Wikipedia page, and I thought you would for sure. I don't know why I did, but you just seem like it's not a compliment or like a detriment.
Shade, yeah.
No, it's really. I really thought you would have one,
and
I'm just like, oh sweet, I'm gonna get to find out all about him because like I know you very on the surface level.
I looked myself up on Wikipedia for the first time last week and saw I didn't have a page, and I was like, huh.
You should make your own.
Is that a thing?
Anyone can do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
If don't leave it up to us. It's not going to be pretty.
Letting the internet make your online biography is a big coin flip that is not weighted in your direction.
It's also inevitable, by the way.
Yeah.
That's real.
I bet you are going to have one about 2 days after this airs.
That's for sure.
Like we had Joe Chung on here, and like he had like a section nicknames, and one of the nicknames I've never heard said ever. And like I told him, he was like, that's never been a thing ever. So someone like literally just got on there and just stayed on under the radar.
And just named him the six better from heaven. That was his nickname.
What a weird nickname. Like, can you imagine you sit down like, oh, what's up, six better from heaven?
That's also just not how I think about Joe. Like anything light and calming and like heaven-esque is just not what comes to my brain when I think of Joe at all. No offense.
Yeah. No, I mean it was reference in like him punting, strong word, but like giving away like the main event.
It's like punting is stronger, but if you threw that shit into ICMI, it would give you a big red flag.
I'm sure you know the hand rover, but back then, like if you didn't do that, like you're not really trying or whatever. I don't know. Back in the day, like you don't just 4-bet the ace X unless you got the 6-bet in your back pocket, you know?
It's kind of coming back a little bit too, which is what I really appreciate. There are these spots that show up in Hold'em and in PLO that has this kind of duality where you're polar, where everyone can just not have it. And so sometimes you have to say, fuck you. Like, it's not, like watching Mateos, he does it like a lot more than other people, and it's so gangster because he gets it right at such a high frequency. And I really like watching people that have that in their arsenal.
Yeah, what was it in that heads up match or whatever where like neither one of them, it was like ran out like 4 cards straight, but like neither one could have the straight. Yeah. And like they really like 6-bet the river or whatever.
It was him versus Limitless at Triton recently.
Is that it? Okay,
I believe it was because I think I was there and I was like, there's some shit going down, and I really like watching it.
Yeah, it was one of those. It's like, okay, like as someone watching, like, okay, yes, obviously he can't have the nuts, and he knows you can have the nuts. It's going to go back and forth until someone's going to say, call, shrug, whatever,
exactly.
But like they just folded on the end, so that's like.
Oh whatever. Yeah, there was the other one during the World Series. That's what I'm talking about. The World Series one with the guy who ended up being kind of a scammy guy or whatever. Yeah. I don't even know who it was. But
it was the Yo Viral one versus the other dude. Yeah.
Yo Viral was the pussy in the situation. Or sorry, the last non-brave guy.
The
guy that folded.
Yeah. That's what I use in all my training content. I just shame people that don't take the last aggressive action. It's like, what a little bitch. He should just know here. Like, that's the official terminology.
And also, they both had a flush. He folded a flush, is what happened.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah. Unlucky.
Oh yeah, I couldn't remember exactly the rules. Either way, so since you don't have a Wikipedia, I do know you're from California. Please tell me that's right. Okay, I got one right. What part? I heard Sherman Oaks. Is that close?
Correct. No, I grew up in Sherman Oaks.
Okay. Yeah. Like elementary, middle school, like high school, the whole way through?
Whole way through in Sherman Oaks, and then went to college at UC Santa Barbara.
Okay. What's the mascot for? I should know. Banana slugs?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, I got it.
Maybe. No, gauchos.
Gauchos. No,
you both sound like sports guys.
Yeah. UCSB was like, if you had to be into soccer or football, whichever one you want to say. I was not into that sport, so I didn't really do that in college.
When I first moved here, I went to UNLV games all the time just because there was nothing else to do. I mean, there was plenty else to do, but that's what I want to do. But like, I used to love going to like put like a couple $100 in the game and just root so hard because like every single person in the stands is rooting for the over or UNLV.
Basketball or football or both?
It was basketball.
Okay.
Yeah. It was fantastic. The team wasn't good then. It was just like everyone in there was a sports bettor or a pure UNLV fan. So it was just like every basket, like half the stadium would go nuts, even while UNLV stuff. And like when UNLV scored, like the entire stadium erupted. It was great.
That's something that, first off, I'm surprised took this long. I guess it makes sense, but given how sports betting's been trajecting, but seeing Vegas transform truly into a sports betting town is such a sharp pivot. Like, as someone who lives here, is buying a home here, it might be one of the best things they could have ever done for the longevity of the city, given what's going on. But it also makes, if people are sweating that hard in high or college basketball, now that we're actually getting legitimate sports teams, it's going to be such a ridiculous experience for everybody.
I agree. Like, I mean, I know the casinos were against sports betting or DFS, like, to start with. And then they still are to a degree. But like, UNLV was special, just like I'm sure Hawaii was special, Hawaii sports, because it was always the last game on the docket. So it was just like
the get even game.
You sit there and you sweat sports for 12 hours, and you're like, okay, I'm down X amount. What's the last game I can bet? Oh, UNLV versus USC Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Done. I'm betting that one. I could care less. Oh, how much are tickets to go to the game? $8? Oh, I'm going to the game. I'm going to yell at whatever player to like make sure I get my bet in.
That's super fun.
Yeah.
You're down whatever $1,800 in the game plus $8 for the ticket. Maybe throw 20 on for the first beer.
A couple Jack and Cokes, and it's the best experience you're going to have.
What did you call it? The get even game?
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, exactly right.
I love that.
It's like the closer in the World Series, you know, or the summer saver.
The summer saver. That's right. That's correct.
So it's the false hope. A lot of the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're all gamblers here. I mean, shit. Like, if you, I don't know. Like, I'm sure you've won one of those, like in theory or whatever. Like whether it's like the last tournament you regged on like a Sunday or like the last event.
That happened to me recently at an order of magnitude. Like, so the last write I was telling you about. I showed up. I was like, I've been studying 2-card. I can play 2-card, and then I tried playing 2-card against those dudes. And I got my face ripped off. Not to say that it's like, am I losing or winning in the field? Probably losing small. I got absolutely destroyed, and then was on my second bullet of the 100K PLO down to like 5 bigs, and then ran it up to chop. And so it's like, that was by far the biggest sweat of a save of my entire, like I was buried and was able to get out. And so yeah, empathy for the experience.
Which stop was that?
The Triton Montenegro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just 1.6 million, whatever.
What? Yeah, not like I had all myself, but yeah, just me for everyone involved.
I'll brag for you.
We were very happy about it to get out of the hole. Very, very happy.
No, and we'll touch on all that, but let's bring it back a little bit.
I'm here.
So what did you go to school for? Like, why were you a gaucho?
That's a great question. So initially, I wanted to go to UCLA or Berkeley. Got waitlisted from both. Went to UC Santa Barbara because it was stone gorgeous. Really, really cool school. My college experience was phenomenal. It really was. It was my freshman year was Black Friday, and so I know. So I played online from the time I was 13 to whatever 19, and there was I think April of.
All right, we gotta stop now.
Yeah. Okay.
13.
Time out.
Yeah.
How do you steal your mom's credit card?
No, I didn't steal anything.
You just told her like, I'm 13. I got this, Mom.
No.
It says 18 or up, but I think they just
my dad was very good at the full tilt free rolls, is what ended up happening. Pretty much. So when I was 12 was 2003. That was a moneymaker year.
God. All right.
And I got super
Just go
sick.
ahead.
I'm 32. I'm an absolute child being 32.
Fuck. All right. That's fine. Go ahead.
And then I got very sick when I was 12. I had like the stomach flu for 2 months, and that they were just playing the main event on repeat. So I watched it every single day, pretty much for 2 months. And I was already, little ADHD child who was addicted to stimulus, and so I just started playing online, pretty much 12, 13. And for those of you, now I can say for those of you who weren't around at that time, they had hourly free rolls on Full Tilt and PokerStars, with like a $100 free roll. That's actually how I learned mixed, because it was every single game. It was like Raz, Stud, No Limit. And so if you won, you got $5 of like a 2,000 person tournament. And so I would just grind those every single day after school until I was like 14, 15. And then eventually built up a couple rolls, broke them because I was emotionally immature, and then went through that cycle. And eventually it caught on and was able to kind of build a bankroll up through the start of college.
So you never had to touch actual money?
I never put a
Get the fuck out of here.
No, never did. Never. I actually don't think in my entire life I've never been negative in poker. No, just because I started from such a young age.
By the way, amazing story.
Yeah.
Secondly, shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah, fuck you.
Wow. No, I mean, that's so cool.
Definite run hot. Like, a lot of kids got addicted to World of Warcraft. I just got stone addicted to online poker. And that's how it goes.
And you just like grinded like free rolls, like it was your job, basically.
I literally grinded free rolls like it was my job. That was what I did after school. And then my mom initially, it was a little hard for her, which makes sense, you know, trying to help out. My family got pretty crushed by the 2008 financial crisis. And so my dad and I were kind of just on a team. It's like, all right, well, we got to figure out how to pay the bills. That's an interesting one because obviously I was very happy to do that because my parents took phenomenal care of me as a kid. I wanted to do the same. What that ended up doing was creating a little bit of a parentified child complex where from a very young age, my brain and my body thought that I had to be like the person in charge, the person who was supporting. And that is some shit that you actually have to unwind as an adult, as an adult in therapy. But what it also does is it's really good trauma that can get you to perform well when you're an adult. Like that's something that I talked to my sports therapist about. Like a lot of the highest performers in the world have very specific childhood trauma that allows them to reach like the GOAT level status in their genre. So, for example, Muhammad Ali, when he was a kid, he had his bike stolen. And so then every time he'd go to fight someone, in his brain and his body, he would tell himself, like, that's the dude who stole my bike. And he'd go out and beat the shit out of them. And so there's a lot of people in like basketball and in poker and in elite athletics that have a very specific trauma from childhood that can get them to perform at a high level as an adult. And I just happen to be one of those people.
So you're just like, that's the guy who gave me the stomach flu.
Kind of. So the funny one actually is like this year, we are about to buy a house and it's like, fuck, we have to like, it's like we can make this happen, but we have to find money for a down payment and all these things. And I just ripped 4 tournaments in a row. Like at the beginning of this year, and then including, like it was by far the biggest upswing of my entire life. And I think there is something to be said about if you have that weird trauma in your body that can get you to perform at a high level and it gets reactivated, it can do things. It's also not sustainable and not healthy in the long term if you're using that as your performance mechanism, like the thing that gets you to perform really well.
You don't say.
Yeah, it's not great.
I just keep going broke on purpose just to do good again. It's working right now.
It's not optimal.
I honestly, I try to break myself until like the Hulk, like it was just like, all right, we're gonna do this now. Like I'm just like poking, and I was like, come on, Hulk, we got this. And he's just like, eventually. And then like at some point, we're like, okay, we're down to our last 10,000. He's like, all right, fine, I'll come out, and like then we'll just run hot for a year and a half, and then we drive it down again.
And then when he doesn't come out, Bruce Banner gets a job. That's the episode they don't put in the comics. He's like, oh, test tube.
So what are you going to talk about? It happens to a lot of poker players. It really, like, I know so many phenomenal poker players who just don't have their emotional shit together. That's you, no offense. But
I'm not taking it. It's fine. But this is a self-therapy for both Art and I. Don't worry about it.
It's true.
It's fine.
Keep it up.
That's fantastic, actually. Great idea. That feeling of needing to win and having to replicate that is real. And there are probably some other ways you can get around it, but that, requires you to work on yourself. And who wants to do that outside of, talk to your friends, drink some beers.
Life is working on yourself. You just, everybody's got their own mechanisms.
I agree.
Glug, glug, glug.
All right, real quick. Do you have crypto just sitting in a crypto wallet doing nothing? Then you've probably never heard of Gauntlet. Gauntlet.xyz is a $1 billion research company that manages risk for huge internet platforms like Uniswap, Arbitrum, Jupiter, and a ton of other ones. And how can they help you? They actually curate these things called crypto vaults. And what's a crypto vault? Well, you just put your crypto in, you get an interest rate. The interest rate depends on the supply and demand of that particular token that you put into there. It's kind of complicated, but their algorithms make it like 1,000 poker solvers are working on your side. And you get a return on crypto that was just sitting in your wallet anyway. Here, let me show you how it works. I've got 800 USDC here. I'm gonna put it into this USDC vault. The current interest APY is a little over 9%. So I'm gonna get that for a little bit and I can take it out whenever I want. Now, as you can see, they have a bunch of different vaults, a bunch of different tokens. Do your own research on all of this, which one appeals to you, but definitely don't let your crypto just sit in your wallet doing nothing. It could be here earning for you. So if you've got USDC or USDT, which if you're a poker player, you probably do, you're gonna wanna have it sitting in one of these vaults earning something for you. So head on over to gauntlet.xyz/T1 and it'll take you right to the vault page. You'll be able to check out which one looks good to you. All right, back to the show.
Anyway, I don't have a vice. Or I don't have all the vices, I guess.
All right, Justin. So
anyways.
Where are we going?
You want to talk about your vices? You can do that right now.
I mean,
talk about mine too.
No, I mean, whatever. Like anyone that's watched most of the stuff, like I have almost all of them. I mean, I don't smoke cigarettes, and like I don't really touch the hard drugs or anything like that. When I consider the hard drugs like crack cocaine, heroin, stuff like that.
Understood.
But whatever. Like I'll try anything once and twice and maybe a third time, and then we'll see if I like it.
Yeah. Giving it the old college double try is really like the first time you're not sure, you have to do it again, or have to is strong. It's important.
And whatever. I mean, that's why I get into mixed games sometimes too. I mean, it's just kind of the same thing. Like,
speaking of drugs, how about a quarter of the pot, Justin? You want that?
I mean, some of my favorite poker memories are like playing games I have very little idea, and like I'm so like intently focused on who I think the best player in the game is, and just focusing on them and what they're doing and why they're doing it. Why did he check raise here? What did he show down? What did he draw? And it just it reinvigorized like my thought of poker or like learning a game back when I was whatever 12, 15, 18, whatever like age I was whenever I learned a game. And like it was a great new feeling, and like I love 2-card like hold'em. Like it is great. But sometimes you got to like kind of trigger something in your mind and be like, okay, this is not the same old. Let's actually like ignite something in your mind to like figure stuff out.
I completely agree. Playing mixed is just healthy for the brain, realistically. And it's better for your poker game. Because if you can figure out the first principles of a game, you can take that to the game that is your bread and butter anyways. You're just, all that you're doing is like increasing the elasticity of your problem solving mechanisms. It's great.
You just have to become humble in the moment.
Oh, for sure.
Well, like you become humble when you decide to play a game you know you're not winning at in general, and like take on that like chip on my shoulder. I know I'm the worst at this game. I'm gonna fucking outplay these guys anyway.
Not only that, mixed. I don't play a lot of mixed, but the one thing I learned from mixed is just knowing like I'm putting money in here. I'm going to lose, but I'm getting whatever 11-1 on the river. So like. It's okay. And then so many people in live mixed game just get so tilted over like losing a pot.
For sure.
But like you just get like kind of trained and just like beaten into submission on like, all right, I'm probably gonna get a quarter of the pot. I might get none of the pot, but I'm already here now, and now I'm putting in this last bet.
Math is still math.
Yeah,
like,
math is
if
still
I'm 1
math.
out of 12 to win, I'm gonna get a quarter of the pot. Like this much of the time, it's like, yeah, okay, call seems right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, now that we jumped so far ahead, let's go back. You were started.
This is going great. The linearity of this, I can really see how you both are neurotypical. Myself as well, just like straight. Everything's gonna go in order.
No hopping around. Editing's gonna be super easy. Don't worry about that. All right. So you're a gaucho. You're like.
Yeah. So no, I got you. So played poker through high school.
Yep.
Played online, but I also, when I turned 16, started playing in all the private games in LA. So
at 16?
Yeah, 16.
Dude.
Started rounding at 16.
Between 13 and 18, was it your dad's account or your mom's account?
Dad's.
Okay.
Dad's account, and then 16 got a car. Very much liked having my own autonomy, and then grateful that my parents trusted me to go do the sketchy shit that I was doing, because there were some games that I played in that you'd expect to be the really sketchy ones. That I played a game that I'm not gonna say who or where, but I believe. Not the majority, but at least some of them were like drug dealers in the game, and it was so safe.
So you got paid on 20s.
Honestly,
is what you're saying.
Those are some of the better games.
Super like
I'm being serious.
No, everyone was kind, like phenomenal people.
They would pay.
I never felt sketched out. I was like their nice little like nerd guy that they liked hanging out with. I would teach them a little bit of stuff. But then I went and played in the like nice games in Los Angeles, which are very much similar. Like for those of you who've watched Molly's Game, there was like the big Molly's Game, and then there was the low stakes tier of Molly's Game that was in the room next to it. And that's what I was playing when I was like 18, 19. It's like 5, 10, 10, 20. Sure. Everyone was getting cheated, hardcore, in all of those games. Like I remember playing a game, there's a dude named, this dude I will name because he's an outed scammer. Danny Scott was his name. And I was playing in a game 3-handed with him and another dude. knowing I was getting cheated, but they were just so bad that I was still winning because they were like, you could see how they were cheating in front of you and just like they would go outside and have conversations with each other while we're at the table. Like that was how blatant the cheating in the Los Angeles private games were. And I think nowadays there's been a little bit of survivor bias because not all of them, but a lot of the cheaters have gotten brought out of the ecosystem. But
Street justice? No.
There's definitely been some street justice.
I'm not going to talk about that. But it was a great way to grow up because the only time I got like scammed was I was playing in a game that was very likely run by the Russian mob-esque type thing. And I was in a pot with this dude who he was getting backed by the guy running the game. And the only reason I was in the game was because my friend was dealing. Like he was my friend from high school who also spoke Russian. So he was kind of my advocate in that spot. I think I'm 18 at the time. I went with a friend of mine, Jimmy, to this game. And I'm playing a pot with this dude. We get it all on the flop, and I'd flop the bottom straight. And I say, yeah, if you have a straight, we chop. Because he like tanked a little bit before calling. And he says, okay, we chop, and he mucks his hand. So, which was like a really good angle for me to learn at that age. Because it was it was probably like a $4,000 pot. And so I argued for like 2 minutes, and then I looked around the room, and I said, you know what? How about we just chop, and I leave? And they're like, that's a great idea. I was like, all right, guys, I'm gonna leave now. And I actually got my money from the game and was able to leave. But it was only, like, I think you have to be 18 and not understand quite how sketchy of a situation that is. Because you're so caught up in the moment of getting scammed that you don't realize that, like, these dudes can just fuck you up hardcore.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation.
Really is.
And you can find a less of a loss.
I really
Get the hell out of there.
I won that. I think I won that day. They let me leave a winner, which for me was a phenomenal thing.
Just a quick break here, guys. Are you tired of playing with players like this? Not this. Like this? Or this?
Or do you want to play with players like this?
Oh, wait. If you like having fun at the poker table, Table 1 is the game for you. We play high stakes, no limit, 100 blinds. And if you want to get into the game, it's actually super easy. We have a website, table1.vegas. You just go to the website, you click get a seat in the game, and fill out the form. It's that easy. It's your name, it's your phone number, it's the date that you're here, and I will personally reach out to you.
And it's only 5K minimum buy-in. Run it up at 2.5 and join us.
That's crazy. I didn't realize you had such a fucking wild early start to your, very wild west of you from 13 years old, grinding free rolls, and you probably have more support than any other person in the poker community from their parents because they saw you actually bring money into the family.
It was helpful.
From that point to when you were 18 and you were able to like make your own PokerStars account.
Agreed.
Or actually you weren't because you're fucking a baby. PokerStars wasn't available to you by the time you could make your own account.
No, I got stars. I got stars in full tilt for real for like 8 months, 9 months. And there was like I'd say it was definitely touch and go for support at different times because I was addicted as well. So being able to find the balance between going to freshman year of high school and then also I would emotionally dysregulate. Like when I was 16, I had like 5K in my account, busted it, playing 10, 20 heads up limit 08, just tilting my face off. And then I had to go work for $15 an hour at like a concession stand directly after it. And that really taught me a very, very valuable lesson. Like that moment I was just sitting there because it's not something I would expect to happen, but it's something that I think helped me in my career as an adult because in going, like I work with a sports psychologist and kind of deconstructing where my current leaks were from my childhood, so many of them were parallel. So being able to look at that one and be like, wow, you could dysregulate so hard that you bust your whole bankroll to the point where then literally less than one big bet that you were playing is now the hourly that you have to go find. And that was such a powerful lesson that I had at the time that is helpful in my current career. Because I'm like a degenerate in that I play massive high stakes PLO, but I'm also a huge nit in terms of how much I take of myself. Not a huge nit, but like I'm very responsible now because I have those like deep childhood wounds that kind of fester at different times.
Okay, I could see it. Yeah, you lose a couple grand. It teaches you $100,000 lesson.
It's really nice. Yeah, we take those. We
definitely. That's definitely a net win. That's for sure.
We definitely take those.
All right, so why even go to college? Like, I mean, you're clearly successful. You're clearly gonna win. So was it family pressure? Was it pressure you put on yourself? Like, was it you're like, poker's probably not gonna work out. I'm just gonna get an actual career. That's
a good question. I moved out when I was 17, 18, because I wanted more autonomy. And then, like, not 100% moved out, but probably like 50% moved out. And so...
Bottom half or top half?
Ooh, depends on the day.
Where were you staying in the other 50%? Where was your top half?
It was the bottom some days, too, let me tell you. Different friends put me up. So
Okay.
I had a couple of friends that I stayed with that would give me like a guest bedroom or a pool house. And it wasn't that my parents weren't supportive. It was that we weren't aligned on how I wanted to live my life in some ways. And so having autonomy was just always very, kind of the parentified child thing, like very important. And then when it came to going to college, I just felt like I wanted to have the experience. And I think that because I'd been in kind of like the sketchy side of poker, I knew that that wasn't a thing that I wanted to be my only thing. It felt like poker would always be there. Remember, this is pre-Black Friday.
Sure.
And I also wasn't playing that. I was playing like 5-10 online at the time. I wasn't playing massively big to the point where the ROI was substantially bad. Like a lot of dudes were playing.
Were you playing, sorry to interrupt, were you playing all on your own at that time?
Yeah.
When you were playing 5-10? Like
Yeah.
what was your bankroll when you were half moved out?
Like 40K, 30,
Okay.
30,
So
40.
you felt like, I got a handle on this.
Yeah.
Like I can move out. I could move to Oklahoma and live for $4 a month or whatever out there. And
But then I
geographical arbitrage.
Yeah, I got a mostly scholarship to UCSB, which is a phenomenal school. And I ended up studying financial engineering or financial math and statistics, which was it pretty much was a data science and AI degree before those existed. And so that was...
Look at the brain on this guy.
Very helpful.
He's a gaucho. It's a big brain and like a tiny little head. What? Sorry, I'm not trying to hurt his feelings or anything.
His head's normal sized.
It's the ears that are large that make the head look somewhat normal. I actually really like that question. I don't have a great answer for you. It kind of was it felt like an intuition that doing the poker thing was not the right path. And what ended up happening was I quit poker pretty much from the time I was 21 to 26. Like I went and I played almost, I didn't play like a hand of poker pretty much. I went to tech. Like I graduated, well in college I went and I had a full college experience. My college experience was incredibly transformational in that the group of friends that I was with were also on the self-growth train. And so I was living in a house or 4 different houses with 20 of my best friends, 10 of which are still some of my best friends that are all coming to my wedding kind of a thing. And so it really gave me the capacity to develop emotionally that I wouldn't have gotten if I'd played poker. And that's actually something that today I'm so immensely grateful for, because there are poker players who are either better than me at poker or have higher net worths or whatever. And I feel so much healthier and happier, not even in a comparison, but just with where I am right now, because I just didn't do poker for those 5 years. I really spent time working on myself, working on my career outside of poker, which is stupidly helpful in the current poker environment. If you got good at AI machine learning, that is really good if you want to be a poker player right now. And so I think that a lot of I'm very, very grateful for the choices that I made earlier in life into not playing poker for that time, because it's allowed me to have the life I have right now, which is not something I would change in any way.
Good answer.
Yeah. Thanks. Good question. You did great.
And not that I want to go down this rabbit hole too hard or anything, but whatever. If you could talk to your 12-year-old self right now, would you tell him to get into poker or not? I always think about this question, and we ask it sometimes or whatever.
It's super funny you asked this question, because it's been a meme in my household recently that my 13-year-old self would be high as shit on the life that I have right now.
Yeah, of course, yes.
It's because I also, when I was 12, 13, I also was a tutor. And so that was my 2 jobs. I would tutor and then I would play poker. And my 2 jobs right now is that I have a coaching business and I play poker.
Right.
And so I think that what I would tell my 12-year-old self, I wouldn't tell him to not play poker. I actually think that poker was phenomenal for me. I would probably try to tell him to be softer with himself on the emotional side, because I would really hurt myself after like having bankroll blow-ups, because that happened like, I don't know, 10. Like a lot of people had the classic, I won one time and then I had a bankroll. For me, like, and this is very much an ADHD kid thing, emotional regulation was one of my biggest issues. And so bankroll management for a long time as a kid was one of my biggest issues. And so if I had the capacity to use it as a learning lesson earlier, I think that I would have probably caused a little less internal scarring in my body. And so I would tell them to do it, but I would try to give them a different frame of reference.
Just tell them to buy Bitcoin.
That's much.
Come on. All right, let me rephrase.
Sorry.
Yeah, like when you played on Seals with Clubs, don't sell your account, like, or whatever. Don't sell all the
Seals
fucking
with Clubs,
Bitcoins you had.
good
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Micon on fucking 6 months ago or
Mycon's
whatever.
a funny.
Yeah,
Like, he's a friend of mine. Funny
He's the
dude.
best.
He's so funny.
Okay, like let me rephrase it, whatever. Let's say you had whatever a niece, a nephew, like someone you cared about that was like 18, thinking about getting into poker. What would you like, as someone that is very successful? Clearly, like, I'm not saying you would discourage them, but like, would you give them a wake up call, or would you like kind of encourage them?
No, so it's a prudent question, because I get that question probably once a month from people that are younger too, because I think the whole social media thing. And usually my response pattern when they ask that to me is along the lines of asking why they want to do it, because
That's good.
because what ends up happening is like, oh, I love games and I want to make money playing games, and it's like, well, you're entering a game that AI is going to break in some horizon in the online format. And so do you like doing social engineering and like having to get into like, there's so much of a trough to actually get to success in poker, starting it right now. And it can teach you an immense amount of beautiful things. And so if you're in it because you love the game, because you see it for personal growth, because it's something you could see yourself doing but you're not tied to, I think that that's absolutely great. But if you see it as your end-all be-all and you are foregoing other learning opportunities like personal development, going to college where you have the opportunity to, that's just, in my opinion, not going to fly. Because with a lot of my current students, what I have them do is like, they have an engineering degree or a data science degree, and they're like, yeah, but I want to play poker. And my answer is, okay, play poker, but then also monetize your degree in the poker space. Like, can you build tools for poker players? Can you do analytics for poker players, which also will allow you to study, which also will make you a better poker player, right? Like, I think that becoming successful in the current poker environment is so much more than just being good at poker and winning money nowadays. And that's going to be true for anything in the next 20 years, given how technology is changing shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's a hard question for an 18-year-old to come up with, because they're showing up to a world where shit's already fucking weird, right? So this is just one, like, and the poker world is like a microcosm of extra weirdness in an already like vastly changing landscape.
Yeah, I listened to an interview recently. I can't even remember who was, embarrassingly, I can't remember who was being interviewed, but it was like, I used to tell people who wanted to come up in poker that they should just grind, 5 cent, 10 cent online and just run it up from there. And then he's like, well, now I've switched my stance on that. Like, you should just get your job or whatever. And then when $300 is, or $1,000 is disposable income to you, play 1-3 no limit at the casino and let that be your learning and stomping grounds, because you might be, playing against a computer online. So
No, it's phenomenal advice in that, well, the answer is like, ¿por qué no los dos? Because you should play online because you need to get your mechanics better, right? Like you need to see that you're like, because you can't beat the rake at whatever, 5 cent, 10 cent, 10 cent, 25 cent, pretty much ever. And so, or the bots.
Tough games. Yeah, no, like online games are the toughest games.
Yeah, you just can't beat
Bar
it.
none.
Yeah, you can't.
Cash games, yeah.
Can't beat it. And so you use it to get your mechanics better. And then if you're okay losing that $50 over whatever amount of time, that's fine. But building your bankroll is what the fallacy is. And that, to your point,
Right.
like you can't build your bankroll online anymore.
And it used to be opposite. Like
Yeah.
whatever, pre Black Friday or whatever, it was the
exactly.
opposite. Like
Exactly.
you build your bankroll online and then you go out in the real world, whatever,
Yeah.
like live, and you test your metal there. And now it's like the opposite.
Exactly right. And it's hard I think it's a little discouraging for a lot of people coming up in poker right now because of the environment, right? Like if you want to play big, you have to be very good at social engineering. And this is something you two are probably much better at than the majority of people on the planet. Like when I say social engineering, I mean, how do you make yourself valuable to a game of poker? It's like, is it the people that you bring to it? Is it the environment that you create? Is it thinking of new ways that like inventing something like the Squid Game or whatever to make the game more interesting. And if you,
Mostly alcohol.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
yeah, that's it. One lucky. Like, and if you're a nerd who doesn't like drinking, you're kind of fucked, right? Like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like, no,
point.
Realistic. Like when I get into a private cash game, I literally I play more hands than everyone. I play incredibly entertainingly, but I physically can't drink, right? And that is the environment that a lot of private cash games want to create. Not saying that it's necessary or that people need to drink,
Sure.
but
It's an illusion of
yeah.
whatever, being loose and recreational.
honestly
and
the
whatever.
drinking is not super important. Justin and I just like to do it because
It's an excuse more than
I
a
mean,
requirement. Yeah.
You would know more than me. You really would.
honestly, yeah. It's like a lot of basically Justin and I are the drunkest people at our game 98% of the time, and a lot of people don't drink, and that's fine. You don't have to drink to play. It's more about just like having a good time and not tanking in all the spots.
For sure. No, 100. That's 100% of that, and that's what's also really hard, though, right? Because in order to learn that, you have to have the opportunity to get into the games, and then kind of this wisdom or this knowledge that you two have in your skill sets. It's kind of not quote unquote proprietary, but it's like it's hard to actually learn. It's hard to learn how to be good for a game. And to build that skill set. And there's a lot of reason why salty regs exist is because they feel as if they should be allowed in games, but they haven't put the time and energy into developing a strategy where you're VPIPing 70. And then you're doing that and playing quickly, right? Like, and if you can do that, even if you're winning, unless you have your name on all your coaching shit, whatever, that was a choice I made. But like, but as long as you are doing that and you're a kind person to be around, you will get into the game. But that's really hard to do. It's really hard to learn how to play this many hands while being social and while doing all these things. It's just a non-trivial skill set.
For sure. And there's a lot of, especially like, I'm closer to, actually, am I close? Yeah, I'm closer to your age than I am to Justin. I'm 37. So there's a lot of entitlement from
it's a thing.
my age through probably it caps out at your age. You're 32, you said?
Yeah.
So where we're just like, games were great anytime we wanted to play.
Yeah.
Justin, you too, obviously. Games were
Shut
great.
up.
It used to be great. And just showing up and having a seat was like enough. You know? And now it's like I'm showing up still, but like now the seats are going to, Joe Schmo who has a relationship with this guy over here, and we have these seats available, and it's just a lot trickier to get into great games. And I understand why a lot of the people in, I'll say our age bracket, because I want to feel young again, have kind of gravitated towards tournaments because the entitlement, doesn't matter. There's not a lot of private tournaments. There's some, but there's not a lot of invitational private tournaments like you just show. Like I think you said earlier before we started, you just show up with the money, you buy in, and then good luck to you. You know, it's very, very much more of a meritocracy once you are in the tournament sphere, which Jeremy Ausmus has done. He was around playing all the high stakes games that we were playing in at the times when games started going private, and he's like, you know what, not dealing with the politics, gonna play tournaments. And I respect that. Like, he got very good at them, and a lot of people did as well. I mean, Brian Rast. Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of people that like kind of spawned from that era that like kind of like say, you know what, you guys with your private games, go fuck yourselves. I'm just gonna be the best in whatever field I want to do. And like the ones that pick poker over, and a lot of people diverted into whatever, stock markets or like real estate or like whatever.
Any number of businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Like in like entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah, but like, Alan Berry, we talked about him earlier. Guys like that, just going and starting their own shit.
But the ones that stuck to poker and they're just like, look, I'm not going to deal with the politics. I'm just going to be the best. Those are some of the best players alive. And like, it's whatever.
It's crazy how it's flipped from like cash game players were the best players and now tournament players are the most studied, best players. Anytime I think of like a studied great player, I always think of Patrick Leonard, who we should try to get on the pod at some point.
He's in Vegas right now.
Yeah, I know, and he was on Berkey's pod not that long ago too. And I don't know, I just think of him as like kind of the baseline of don't care what you guys are doing, gonna do my own thing in games that don't gatekeep me out of it and just crush. So I respect everyone who just got better and just played a game where they were allowed to play, because I mean, saying that as a game runner, running our own game,
Sure.
where we try to make just poker fun, but at the same time, like, you have to make the experience fun for everyone. You know, like we can't be having the tanking Bonomo types in there. Sorry, it could be anyone.
No,
Not
and
just
like,
Bonomo.
I just want to say one more thing. Like for every one Jeremy Ausmus, there are 900 other people that tried that avenue and failed.
It's because it's really, really, really hard.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and Jeremy's a great choice, because not only would he show up to the private games, but he'd make other people feel inadequate because he's just so good looking and so kind.
Jeremy Ausmus.
He's Jeremy. If you're a great guy, I love you so much. You do a thing to all of us. It's unfortunate, and then you keep winning, and then when you lose, you take it well. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Well,
I mean,
at least he sings and plays the guitar too.
He probably has some deep kinks somewhere. Like, there's probably some weird shit going down. He's not telling. I hope there is.
He's one of my oldest friends from Vegas, and I
haven't seen it
I
yet.
hate him more than any other human in the world.
Maybe it's pegging. You think?
I hope so. I hope so for him and his partner.
I'd probably get.
Yeah. Whoever, top or bottom, that's what you said. Which half is it?
If I get pegged from Jeremy, I bet you to be very gentle with it. Like,
yeah?
I feel like he would be the best pegger ever.
Unless you didn't want that, right?
Right, exactly. Like, if I wanted he could read me.
He'd ask for consent.
He'd put the mirror up.
You'd have a conversation.
Right.
It's like, what do you want? Okay. What size do you want?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after the conversation, he would execute well.
You know
he's
what?
steady. He's consistent. I'm sure that it is what it is, right? Like, and that's because he knows the environment.
Thank you for this.
Please stop.
No. Please don't stop, you mean.
Oh, sorry. Depends on what we want.
No, please don't stop.
Jeremy would know what we wanted.
He would, 'cause he'd ask.
Exactly right.
Consent's important. You guys, when I showed up today, you're like, this is the dungeon. I'm like, I told you how to warn something different. Like, you just gotta tell me what I'm showing up for.
Oh my God. All right, Justin.
anyways.
What was the cover? Where we at?
No, honestly, this is where we like to take most of our guests.
Hell yeah.
We mentioned Jeremy Ausmus probably more than any guest in the world. And this is the first time we've mentioned pegging during it. So
I'm truly happy that I was the person to be here for it. And if anyone has any pegging questions, please ask Jeremy. Don't ask me.
No, we're going to have Jeremy on in a bit. And so we definitely will. We're going to put it out there. I think we'll.
In fact,
he's going to be so confused, by the way. If Jeremy shows up, he's like, wait, why are you? And then if you say that it's me, he's gonna be like, oh, I get it now.
guys, if you don't want Jeremy to be confused, submit your Twitter questions now to Jeremy. I'm not even sure of his name. It's probably at super handsome guy.
Super cool, awesome guy.
Ausmus.com.
10 out of 10, whatever it is.
But DM him and say, hey, when you're pegging someone, how do you get consent? How do you make sure it doesn't splinter? All the questions you might have out there.
The answer is different types of toys, by the way. It doesn't splinter because you don't choose toys. Yeah, that's the answer.
Wait for Jeremy to answer.
His is going to be more eloquent.
It will be.
Just a quick break here. Have you ever checked out the listing for Coachella or some other music festival, and you look at it and you're like, man, Kanye, I don't know a lot of bands, Eminem, how do they get all these people on here? Well, Phenom Poker has a list of pros. Joe Chong, Sergio Ido, Justin Young,
Chris Hunichin.
Brian Brass, Chris Hunichin.
Eric Baldwin, it's a who's who.
It's a who's who of guys who just support this
Engel.
platform, and it hasn't even launched yet. And Table One is on that list. We support Phenom Poker. We think they're going to do good things. It's going to be the online poker site that you can trust. You can deposit with crypto. They're going to teach you how to do everything. And the best time to sign up is right now before they launch, because everybody who signs up to the waiting list is going to get extra tokens, extra rake back. It's really going to be in your best interest to sign up now. So just check in the description below. We're going to have a link right at the top that says Phenom Poker. Sign up through Table One, get on the waiting list, and sign up today.
Super simple. Name, email, and then you're on with us.
I pivoted off of that in order to go on a pegging rant. But you said something that I really wanted to just touch on for a little bit, which is the 900 to 1 thing for being able to figure it out. And this is something I've talked about publicly a little bit already, but the salty reg syndrome thing, I think that it's not even great to say sometimes, because it devalues the existential dread that a lot of professionals are having for their means of supporting themselves and their families from going away, right? And so you get a lot of people who invested in a career that shifted it's like you were a horse and buggy manufacturer and then automobiles came around and you didn't build the skill set. That's almost the exact same amount because you need so much technical knowledge and aptitude and emotional awareness and growth to be able to compete at the high levels nowadays. And so a lot of people just got salty because they're seeing their career leave them behind. And if you are one of those people, one, I'm sorry, that sucks. But then two, being honest about it is for sure the way through it, right? Because a lot of people blame the environment when in reality, there are other avenues that exist. Like tournament poker, live tournament poker, you can beat that. Like the tools exist, you can do it. Being able to like get into private cash games, if you're a salty reg and people know you as that, it's so hard to rewrite your brand in the poker world. If you were ask me about a person who I know and then say, should I let them in my game? Like you two probably know this better than most people on the planet. Like you're gonna know immediately. It's like, yeah, Dylan Weissman. If I want to have a pegging conversation, I'll invite him. But if I don't want to do that, or if I don't want that, maybe he's a great guy. He'll play a lot of hands, but I don't know if I want him in the game. Like,
let him into your Acro-Yoga studio.
You really get me into the Acro studio for sure. That I will help you with. But in your high stakes private cash game, unless you but that's the other thing. When you get really good, if you're a kind person, people want to play with people who are really good too. That is real.
That is true.
There are it kind of takes getting to the very highest stakes for that to happen, where people want to start playing with good players. But those are like the Andrew Robles or the Jason Koons of the world, where they play really well, but they are smooth and talkative, and the game is never slow, and they give up EV everywhere because that's what you need to do, right? So if you are a salty reg, this is your wake-up call to like look yourself in the mirror and stop blaming everything else and start figuring out how you can actually make shit work.
That is a great,
Dude,
great little
that was fantastic.
speech there for sure.
I don't even know what question I asked to incur that statement, but that was fantastic.
Yeah, you did great.
But shout out to all
You've been doing great all the time.
Shout out to all the salty regs out there. You can just contact Dylan. He'll help you.
I actually won't.
Desaltify yourself.
Just go to Upswing Poker, find Dylan.
There's some mental game videos that I try I don't work with a lot of people right now, but yeah, there are things for you on the internet that can help you. Please go find them.
Pegging video. Sorry.
There's plenty of those on the internet. Plenty. Like you should really start looking for them. Actually, there's a lot of them on the internet.
But then erase your browser history.
Or don't.
Whatever.
Or live your truth.
Yeah.
Like this is that's
Targeted ads. Here they come.
I just want to say that is such a that's a holdover I think from all of our childhoods is like the erase the browser. It's like who the fuck is looking at your browser? Like if you're I guess maybe you have children so you don't want to see your children getting into your browser history. But like why would you care if someone saw your pegging browser history? Like what would that do to you as a person?
To be fair, it wouldn't bother me, but like I also don't have
I've
kids.
I've never researched it, but you know,
like the equivalent.
I would be embarrassed if I had pegging browser history in
What do
my
you mean,
history.
if? I thought,
Yeah.
If I did, which I don't. My children watch this sometimes.
Oh,
probably,
sorry.
But not this far into the episode. They're out by 15 minutes. Like, oh, snooze fest, Dad.
It's also it's like
no, Allie, the good part's coming in 20 minutes. Can't make it that far.
you can make sure that I think having the pegging timestamp is going to be very important for the longevity of this podcast in terms of view count. The people need to know where the good stuff is.
Oh,
yeah,
he
timestamp.
does timestamps, yeah.
I do, yeah. But once you get to them, it's actually an ad right away. And then comes the good content. So watch the ads. Actually, if you click on the ads,
Good things happen.
It helps us a lot. It pegs your wallet, helps your friends. So
Very nice, Art.
here
Thank
comes
you.
one right now.
I love where we went with this, guys.
Very nice.
I love what we did with this. I'm happy for all of us.
So anyway,
I feel like I had something really great to say during the pegging, but I got distracted. Oh, I hate getting distracted during pegging.
Well, if you had someone who was there taking care of you, it wouldn't happen. They would keep you focused. Yeah.
Jeremy Ausmus would be the best, by the way. I can't wait for it to have him on. He's gonna be so confused. We've had 19 questions, and they all involve pegging.
The funny thing, Jeremy and I play an immense amount of poker together because all of our tournaments are the same. He plays the mixed game tournaments, the big PLOs, and the big hold'ems. And we have had multiple conversations at the poker table where he's looked at me and been like, "Dylan, what the fuck are you talking about?" Because like he truly is like this kind of classical human being in a lot of ways, and I am not. My current iteration of being a human is very non-standard, and what I think is really cool about
He's Captain America. You're the failed experiment. I get it.
yeah. I'm like the failed experiment that turned out to be like
The villain.
No.
Only at the poker table.
Yes.
Okay.
Am I? I'm
You're
probably
not a villain,
I'm probably. I mean, I think some people see me as a villain at the not in like a.
I mean, everyone should see you as a villain. At the
Yeah,
poker
okay.
table.
Yeah, it's
You're
probably-
fucking
yeah, it's probably-
menacing to play against.
I'm probably not fun to play poker against. That is true. I think it's fun that when you get to the like hang out at PGT and things like that. I just love how different everybody is. Like you get a Sean Winters in there. He's actually my favorite human on the planet to sit here and suck around.
He may not be human.
That's-
We have
that's-
taken some
yeah,
surveys.
don't say human.
That is a real. How do I describe? Maybe he's human, but like the thing that makes his brain happen is different than the thing that make our brain happen. You know?
Yeah, 'cause
like,
it's alien.
It go tick,
Alien DNA.
Yeah,
Got
it go
it.
tick differently.
Because he's an alien.
Dude, I've seen him do some wild shit. Like he looks me in the eyes like we have the same hand, and I have like pocket sixes with 25 bigs, and like on a bubble spot. I'm like, there's no fucking way we have the same hand here, and he has pocket sixes. I'm like, why is there's no possible way? And he probably says that at a high frequency to make it happen, but I've only seen it happen twice, and he was right both times. So like, who knows how?
He's a sick individual.
He really is.
I've only played
Yeah.
a little bit of poker against him because he plays a shitload of tournaments and not so much for me. But like, I don't know. There's some spots. Well, he didn't show me his hand, but he always gives you the weird stare down. Like,
He really does.
Like he's about to do something crazy, like a crazy fold or a crazy all in. And like when you have it and he gives you the crazy eyes, you're like, oh man, he just folded like second nut flush and I have the nut flush. Or like it gives you crazy eyes and like, you know, he calls and he shows you like bottom pair or whatever. Then you're like, oh shit, that makes me think all the other crazy eye times he also made the right decision.
He does have the crazy eyes. But that's what I love about playing in those tournaments is that you get humans that are so different, and yet almost always everyone's very kind to each other and very accepting. And like, because you're sitting at, we're all playing, like we're effectively coworkers, right? And we're coworkers that sometimes don't get along very well because our views are very different, but in general, want to create an atmosphere that is, it's like what you guys do in your private games. Like when you show up, the intention is for everyone to enjoy the space and to enjoy playing a game. And I think what's challenging, hence like the salty reg thing, is like in a lot of like the middle part of poker, like the 5-5s and the 5-10s of the world, that just, or like the lower stakes tournaments, that just isn't, that vibe isn't there. You don't get the same interesting, unique openness. That's not to say it's true everywhere, because poker's a beautiful game and humans are cool, and so it happens. But that's one of my favorite parts about getting to play kind of in the elite tier, is that everyone's really try-harding to make it a cool space, and I like that a lot.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, that's
I would
great.
say like a 2-5 or 5-10 home game, you get that atmosphere.
Exactly.
And then you go to the casino and it becomes cutthroat for whatever reason because like everyone's trying to survive.
Yep.
And then you kind of flow through the mid stakes up to the super high stakes and like private games again. And then yeah, like you said, everyone's
cool
trying
again.
to make it fun for everyone who's playing. That way nobody feels like they're signing up just to lose money and be yelled at.
Yeah.
And another shout out for Carrie Katz and PokerGo. Just seriously, like we said in an interview where we kind of like went down that rabbit hole, but like, man, just love Carrie Katz and what he's, doesn't matter like what it looks like in 5 years from now, what he's done for poker over the last like 5, 6, 7, 8 years has been amazing for poker.
Also, shout out to Tim Duckworth, who helps Carrie Katz on it. Like, maybe we should. Maybe actually, no. Fuck Tim. Never mind.
No. Like,
No, I'm just kidding. I'm
I only was laughing and like started to giggle because like Art texted me yesterday or last night. And he's like, "Do you have Tim Duckworth's number? Because like I'd like to get him and just like kind of crash like the interview with you."
Oh, that'd be so fun.
And I was just like, I don't have Tim's number or whatever.
Because we had Shaun Deeb in here, and we were like, is the Tim Duckworth beef real, Shaun Deeb? And he's like, Tim who? Like,
I just got brought into their like. Talk about a pegging match. Like I got brought in to their like literally just got brought. That was a great.
Yeah, you got brought into a forced threesome. Yeah, I got you.
No, but then I liked it, so I consented. Right, like I was happy to be a part of it. But it's so like that's one of my favorite parts of poker. This is a tangent from what we were just talking about, where it's like. Because we're playing a game, right? We have to keep shit interesting. Like we're just playing the same game, and so having that's why the WSOP is so cool, and why I'm actually really stoked that DNEGs and everyone is trying so hard to do the kind of gamification, sportification of it with DFS and to the 25K fantasy, because having an extra layer, having an extra metagame, whether it be emotional or tactical for whatever reason, it's what's going to make poker as a game and as a quote unquote sport survive in the long term. Like creating these dynamics, creating these stories and these brands. And what I really like is that a lot of the Phil Hellmuth-esque brands, like yes, his is really big, but like the people who kind of just bitched and had that be their brand, they get clicks for a minute and then they die. Whereas from a brand perspective, whereas mostly nowadays, the people who are staying around are just kind of the goats. Like we joke about Jeremy Ausmus, but he literally gets a ton of coverage because he is so kind and does a good job. Like Adrian Mateos is another phenomenal example, or like Jason Kuhn, Phil Galfond, all these dudes who are really good for poker and good at the game, and also create so much interesting.
They add to the game.
Exactly
Yeah,
right. Exactly right.
Yeah, storylines sell for sure.
They do.
And I mean, Phil Hellmuth just happens to be the only guy still bitching that also wins all the time.
He toes the line better than anyone in the history will ever do it. Like you could put me in a million timelines and give me the same opportunities he did. I couldn't
Never
do this.
Yeah, his form of neurodivergence is. Oh, I have a great story. I have a great Phil Hellmuth story, by the way.
Feed us.
Yeah, it's a mixed game Phil Hellmuth story where we were at PokerGo. It was me, Crazy Mike, and Phil Hellmuth. That's the scene. We're playing the 10K 8 game. And Crazy and I have been playing for the past couple months, because that was when I was just learning mixed, and so Crazy let me play his game 3 times and then never let me play again. But the conversation was going, I learned a new term, which is narcissistic, which is where you are a narcissist, where you are autistic, and then people who are autistic at a high frequency have narcissistic tendencies. And so I'm teaching Crazy about this, and he goes, oh my God, that's me. Like he's hyped. Like he's like, I am autistic and a narcissist. This is great. And he goes, hey Phil, this is us. And Phil goes, I'm not narcissistic. And Crazy's like, Phil, this is us. And just like the sternness of Phil and then the incredulousness of Crazy. And I'm just sitting there. It's been a while since I've laughed that hard in life. I was so grateful to be sitting at that table in that moment of time, because it was just stone perfect. And for those of you who don't know Crazy that well, he's truly enigmatic and very much, he's so self-aware in a lot of ways about who he is and how he shows up to a poker table. And so him just leaning in so hard into like, yes, I am narcissistic and autistic, the juxtaposition between that and Phil just like hardcore shutting it down, it was like a chef's kiss. I love it so much. It was so good.
God, I would have loved him in there.
It was.
I would have pissed my pants. I think.
Dude, I was close to it. I couldn't breathe. I was actually breathless.
So, just out of curiosity, like in your limited interaction with Crazy Mike, like what do you think? Because like we're gonna get him on this episode at some point,
yeah.
And like we might just put like cardboard cutouts of ourselves on either side
and let him talk,
and just be like, they're like, and go. Yeah. But like what do you think? I'm just more curious, and like we can make this super quick, or we just edit this out.
I think Crazy's a good dude in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that he put himself in a tough spot in a lot of ways too, in terms of how he approached playing the mixed games. He's very public about how much money he's lost. He like tells people at the poker table.
He brags about it.
He really does.
Yeah.
And I think that what's really challenging when you have neurodivergence like his is that it makes your body do a thing. It's like the way he is how he is, right? And he kind of got stuck in this spot with poker where it's his thing, but it's also a thing that he hasn't won money at in some amount of time period. And so I think, and this is not an uncommon story in poker. Like Crazy story is something that, like, you have super smart people who in general are smarter and can problem solve better than other humans, but then you put them against people who are maybe better at thinking about poker in a specific way and also emotionally stable, and it's gonna be hard to win. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
To identify with yourself as like a poker player, but then you can't beat the people you're playing against. That's
well,
that's not exactly.
There's almost some self-sabotage, like kind of hooked in there or whatever, where you're like, if you play like the loser role too long, all of a sudden you become the loser.
Yeah,
or whatever.
for sure. And I think I do think he really is trying. It's hard. It's really hard to rewrite that script, and that'd be true in anything. Like a lot of I have people ask me like, "Hey, Dylan, I'm in a big downswing. What do I do?" The first answer is like, you take a fucking break for a long time if you need to, depending on how long you've been losing. It's like if you sprained your ankle, what would you do? Would you keep running on it? No, you would take a break, let the swelling go down, and then go to physical therapy.
Cut the foot off.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, sorry. What do you do?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry, yeah.
Cut the foot off is right, I think.
Cut your foot off. Try to get whatever medical thing that attaches
Buy a
your
new foot.
Yeah. Run worse than you used to, and then fall over every time you try to walk. Yeah.
There you go. You get it. Yeah, that's
Great
good.
idea.
and if someone approaches you, say "arr" and buy a parrot.
Yeah.
And keep it on your shoulder.
And if you're drunk enough, no one's going to question you if you just are doing that. If you showed up to a poker game with a parrot and drunk, you probably would get into a lot of games.
There you go.
Unless with the casino, Len would have a fit about that. Imagine if you brought a parrot to a game that Len Ashby was in. Like I would.
Well, that's your service parrot. I mean,
Yeah, that's what it shits near Len
Oh my
or something.
God.
Was he the one telling the story about wanting a llama to be in? Like he just wants.
Rhinoceros, I think.
Thank you.
he wanted a service rhinoceros.
That was it.
Or elephant. He
Elephant.
wanted to come
Elephant.
in on a giant animal.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. This is just my service elephant. For those who don't know what we're talking about, it's Len Ashby. He was, I don't know, episode 8 or some shit. He was way back on this podcast, but his stories are great. Go back and check them out.
And in all honesty, we'll
stories
probably
on
have him on again in about 2 or 3 months because
Once he has some more stories to tell.
I mean, what do you mean? He has all the stories. We got like 1/100th of them, and
It's true.
even to his self credit, he was just like, I don't think I did that good, and like the whole time, like this is amazing, this is so cool. But either way, we'll get
Seriously,
back on.
one of the most underwatched episodes on this channel.
Okay, I am going to try to like rein us back just for a second
Please.
because like
so
Dylan
when
has
did you
so
start
many
winning?
no, I'm just saying he has so many like poker accomplishments. Like I at least want to like at least let everyone know. Like I mean, he's not talking out of like his ass or anything like that. He's like
pegging in his ass.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, sorry. Top or bottom, it depends on the day.
Let's go to where he's pegging his opponents. Justin,
But
I feel like it's not going to come out natural now.
this is my favorite callback.
So anyway, I can't stop saying that. Okay, but like okay, after you had, I wouldn't say a brief career of academia or whatever, but like you decided to get back into poker at some point. Was it?
Yeah, pretty much what happened was I worked in tech for 5 years, did everything, like scaled my way up in the tech world, was running or helping to run like a very small hedge fund here in Vegas. I moved back to Vegas in 2017, I believe it was, 2018, where was not for poker. Like moved in with a friend, a couple other friends, we started a project. I left the project and then didn't really have anything to do, and then showed up to a tournament at the Venetian and got third for like 40K. I was like, okay, cool, maybe I'll try playing poker again. And then right around that time, I met a friend of mine who ended up being my coach, who ended up being the person who I made my first course with, named Chris Swainer. And he showed me about like Monker Solver and then all of the more modern solving tools for poker. And that was a pretty big game changer for me because it was very easy given my background for me to just like in 5 or 6 months really get in there and get pretty good. And then once that happened, taking that skill set, and because I'd already played, I probably had played millions of hands before I turned 19 or whatever, because I was like, playing so many tables. And so having the more modern skill set and bringing that into the current environment, because people were doing that online, right? But no one was really bringing modern PLO theory into the live environment. And it's kind of just a money printer when that happened. But that also happened simultaneously to like my current fiance and I getting together and her helping me really get my shit together as a human being. And I think that the two of those things simultaneously really is what kind of brought me to where I am today. Because even if I had the technical knowledge that I had, I still had so much like just trauma and gunk from my childhood that was holding me back from being able to execute at a high level. And so her help, which also got me into like my current 2 therapists, and then also our communication, which helped me in communicating with myself and my students, yada, yada, yada. Like that was very helpful in terms of creating the current skill set I have now. And I also was fortunate that I loved PLO tournaments, and I realized that no one on the planet had done any work on them from a technical perspective.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah, and so this was like 4 years ago. So I hired my current analyst, Matt Femright, who is just an absolute demon, and we just got to work and have built out some pretty robust stuff. And so now it's like you get to show up to tournaments. It honestly kind of feels like in 2007, 2008, when like Ike and Fedor had the solvers before other people had the solvers. That's about what's happening right now in PLO tournaments. And so it's it's a cool environment to be inside of, and I just love it because it's the most fun as well. Like I genuinely enjoy playing at this level.
Yeah, we are the best.
You have a magic PLO box? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Oh, what was that called? Yeah, it was a dream machine. Yeah. Except for the dream machine is publicly available. You just have to put 2 years worth of work with someone doing it full time to be the one that like gets all the data out of it. It's hard. It's like
the funny thing about we had an episode in the past where I talked about this, but you started playing poker at a very unusually young age, 13 ish, and there was actually a study that I still haven't cited it, and I still don't know what I'm talking about. But from the age 13 to 17, like in that period of your life, your brain
Absorbs.
so elastic.
is so elastic. Like not like when you're 0 to 5, it's elastic in that way for speech. But when you're 13 to 17, it's so elastic in like the concepts that you learn and the thing that you dedicate your like mind space to, and like the people that go into computer programming, like someone that starts when they're 18, and even if you did it only from 13 to 17 with like 90% of your energy when you had free time, you dedicated it to this thing, once they start, they can never catch up to you.
Yeah.
Like even if you take, like you said, 6 years off, 5 years off, like you have this poker DNA inside of you, and I have no doubt that it's true, that even if you had never studied to the extent that you studied, just your pure dedication to what you did for those 5 to 6 years, your brain is just wired to be better at poker than anyone else who picks it up later when it's of legal age to do so.
That's why grandmasters, you never hear of like a 30-year-old grandmaster or something like that. Like grandmasters like start at like age like 8, 9, 10, 11.
For sure.
They get good during the ages you talked about, and then it's just kind of a leveling off period. If you like learn chess and you can be an incredibly super genius, study your entire life, you won't be able to beat a 13-year-old like that.
A guy who started when they were 13.
Exactly.
Or whatever, was still doing it from 13 to 17.
Correct.
What you notice about a lot of those quote unquote child prodigies, like the Josh Waitzkins of the world, I don't know if you've read.
Oh yeah. The Art of Learning.
Yeah, it's phenomenal book, by the way. But like he had to leave chess as well, because a lot of what ends up happening is it's not about your technical capacity to execute, it's about your maturity and emotional intelligence. Because when you spend all that time getting really good at the thing, you aren't developing in other really critical ways. And so that's why you get a lot of these world-class performers who aren't emotionally stable. Like I work with a sports psychologist, and she was on the Olympic committee for a long time. So like she used to work with all the young Olympic athletes, still does, I believe. Absolute beast of a person to work with. And one of the things that we really focused on is how you can be so good at something and then yet still not achieve at it or execute at it. And what ends up happening for all these people who were, like Simone Biles is a phenomenal example as well, where she was both mechanically and physically elite, but because she had so much repressed trauma from the fucked up stuff that happened to her, she wasn't able to execute on the large stage. And that's what happened in that was on Netflix, by the way. Her
2020, when she got the twisties.
Twisties, and which is a mental, like you can equate that to like having a mental game thing. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry. Okay.
What is the twisties?
Like the twisties, like the equivalent is like whatever. Like you'll in baseball, especially, you'll hear of a pitcher or a catcher or second baseman. Like those get this mental block of like wouldn't be able to like throw the ball to where they want to. Like it's something they've done their entire life.
In golf,
the yips, exactly, the shanks or whatever. I got it my senior year of like high school. I played tennis, and like my second serve was a very like consistent like spin serve. I would get it in every time, and then going up to the States, like I couldn't even make contact with my strings. It was just like edge to the point where like I'm playing the States, like we're the number 1 seed coming out. I'm literally going like this because I couldn't figure it out, and like. Obviously my teammate was upset, my coach was upset, but like I mean it's a real mental block where it's just like the harder you try, the worse you're gonna do. Yeah. And either way, sorry, but like
no, it's good.
She qualified for all these events and she like developed it, and she had to back out of like was it the Indies or like I can't remember if it was an individual event or like the overalls. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was because it was unsafe for her.
Correct,
like literally unsafe, because if you're in the air and you don't know where you are, you will fall on your neck. Kind of a thing.
So she literally backed out like the night before and was just like, I can't do this because I'm going to kill myself. outside of me, I'm just going to look like, you know, a little girl like going like this. But like, you know, I mean, to her, she could actually die. And like, to me, like I would just internally die.
You're just
like,
going to lose your second serve every time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
But then she went after that thing, did a ton of therapy, and then moved through what was happening, and then showed up to this Olympics as an absolute beast again.
Yeah.
And so that's what's so challenging about being like a child prodigy human. And I'm not claiming that I am one of those, but like for those that are, it's so hard because you got so good at this thing, you got so fucking good at one thing, but then you didn't develop as a human being at all. And that's why I said this earlier in the interview. I'm so grateful for the time I took off from poker, and I'm also grateful for like the friends that I've had and my partner, because that, like, without that time off, even though you're right that my mechanics or my capacity to play poker is just, I can feel it. It's just naturally better than other people's. I don't think I'd have the success that I have right now, because I wouldn't have the infrastructure in my life and in myself to be able to do the thing. I could think about doing the thing, but I couldn't actually do it. And a lot of poker players, they suffer from that. It's hard.
All right, so by the way, Dylan's won like $6 million in tournaments or whatever. So like at some point he gets really good at like PLO tournaments.
Dream machine.
Obviously,
It
like
helps.
it's not like
It really does. It's like it used to be a meme. They're like, oh, is this real? It's like, no, this shit real. Like the computer is there, man. You can't fight it.
so like clearly you cut your teeth along the way. Like you studied, like you know you put in plenty of time, but you kind of burst on the scene. Might be strong, but like you kind of burst on this on the scene like the last 5-6 years. Is that fair to say? Maybe
Probably
even like
3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say less.
That's I've been taking it legitimately seriously for about 3 to 4 years.
Which is crazy because
Yeah.
like I mean obviously you to my point like you've already cut your teeth and everything like that. When people say like oh it just came out of nowhere, obviously you didn't.
Yeah.
So like it's tough to have a bankroll where you're just like okay Omaha series is coming up. There's $500,000 worth of buy-ins. I'm just gonna enter in all of them because I know I'm the best.
Yeah, didn't do that. Yeah.
So like what I mean what kind of like
Yeah.
edged you into that kind of stuff?
For sure. So this survivor bias is so real in poker, right? I told you, hadn't played poker at all, showed up to the Venetian, ripped third place having not played a Hold'em tournament in live in I don't know how long, a decade or some ridiculous amount of time. And then went and played that March Madness and won an obscene amount of money playing big PLO. That's also when I was training. Ryan Fee is a friend of mine. He was also backing
To
me.
tag you.
Yeah. Ryan's a great guy. He's living in my house right now. But he backing me at that time too. So
Cash games? Or?
yeah. Like so this is right. This is right before everything went private at the Aria. Right when I got back to poker, you could go play quarter 51 at PLO Cash at the Aria, and it was running during March Madness every single day. It was open. There was multiple tables of it.
I think
And
they still had that over the summer, didn't
they
they?
do.
They do.
They do, but it's semi-private now too.
okay.
It's like
Starting list is
dude,
like-
dude shows up if you're there, kind of. But and also those games are, you have to like, in that game nowadays, everyone who's showing up to play it is probably better than me technically.
But at the time, not so. No.
Well, yeah, no, well, because like you have to. I think for anything, you have to kind of choose what you want to specialize in. Where it's like 6 max cash is a thing that was my bread and butter for a long time, and I got very good at it. But there are people that's their only thing that they do, right? And so they're just going to be better than me technically at it because the thing that I do now, like I also play Hold'em and I play mixed and I play PLO tournaments, right? But back to the question, it's like I just sun ran when I came back into poker, just like hardcore sun ran my face off, and then online sun ran my face off. And so my capacity to like I went from being a normal human that worked in tech, whatever, like nothing obscene, to like having a legitimate bankroll in 6 months. And so that, and then I swung really hard because it's PLO. Like I swung really hard over the next whatever year, but that happened. And then right after COVID, I showed up to WSOP, won a 1K bracelet, and then got third in the 3K PLO 6 max. And for those, you always have 100% of yourself. So it's like, it was very, very serendipitous and fortunate for me to just like run hot when I did, so that when I did hit my inevitable downswing that next year I lost for like a year and a half straight, I had already not only built up my bankroll, but had like financial stuff in place. So I had people buying pieces of me and things like that. So my capacity to stay in the game never went away.
So it's rare for poker players because like we're typically egotistical, might be strong, but whatever. Have some hubris attached. Like after you like binked basically a first and a third.
Yeah.
you started selling pieces? Like that seems almost backwards, for us.
I totally did. It's like, I like, there's a piece of wisdom that I was given, which is that usually when you hit I got to the point where if I didn't fuck it up, my life infrastructure was in place. And so I can give up small amounts of EV in order to maintain the system that I have versus like hitting my Kelly criterion and having a risk of ruin. To me, it's what made the most sense. But I also I think hubris is one, emotional volatility is another, right? Like our bodies don't like losing. It's like entitlement tilt, all that stuff is so powerful. And when you know that you're a good poker player, but you don't have the good emotional regulation or whatever, it tends to go in the opposite direction.
You were in tech. Were you in like startups and stuff too?
I did, my first job was at a company that did machine learning and AI for digital advertisements.
But did they take like VC money, like that type of? The reason I'm asking is because that makes sense from like, okay, you had your scores and like now you're like set, kind of like you said. I mean, you didn't say it in so many words, but you were set financially to live how you wanted to live for like whatever, 5 to 10 years, whatever, depending on. Yeah. But like
it was more so for that stage of my life. Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying like in the tech world, like you can take on money and that lowers your risk, and you have this guaranteed kind of income coming in, and I'm just trying to figure out if like that had something to do with you, like, okay, I have this money now I can take on investors and still make money if I do well. Like you're still incentivized to make money, but like also you're set as far as like your risk is tolerable in terms of if you break out for a year and a half, like you said you did, you're still in good shape.
No, it's a great question. I think that I did work in startups, but I didn't ever have my own small startup, for example. I worked in medium-sized companies. I quit a couple bad startups. That piece of wisdom came from poker players before me. When I was a kid, Phil Galfond was like the dude, because one was PLO, but then also he kind of spoke the emotional language. Like he was the first person to bring Tommy Angelo into the cultural consciousness of poker, and so I think that he was and still is in a lot of ways like a phenomenal influence on my life. And then also Ryan Fee, who I was telling you about, was just he'd tell you himself the reason why he was successful in early ages. He just got bankroll management. He did a good job at having solid bankroll management. And so having him as my initial backer / investor, I was never on a stake. It was just that you can have as much of you as you want for yourself and I'll buy the rest, but we're not going to create a staking arrangement. So it forces you to have accountability for your own bankroll. Nice. And that is an incredibly powerful thing. What I do as well for my people that I invest in, I don't stake anybody, but I'm happy to buy pieces of people because it creates, staking can be good for sure. And I've had different situations where I've been on a stake for specific things because of the size of a game, yada, yada, yada. But having that as my baseline and getting taught solid fundamentals from people who had been successful already, it didn't come from me or even come from tech. It just came from playbooks that had been executed on well already.
Just good mentors. That's good.
It's good mentors are the stone nuts. If you can find somebody that believes in you and then you show up and do the work, it's incredibly powerful.
I think I agree with that. And from everything I've looked into, it's not even necessarily the money that people are willing to put into you, it's the belief, because then you believe in yourself, and you're like, well, these people believe in me, I must be able to do this, and you just do it. So it's incredibly powerful just what the mind can do once it knows somebody cares about you or wants you to succeed and believes you can.
Exactly. And a good mentor will also help you understand that it's not, what you're saying is correct by definition. And I think that when I try to mentor people, the vocabulary that we use is, it's not me giving you the belief in yourself, it's creating the environment where you create that on your own. It's not, I have belief in myself because Dylan believes in me. It's, Dylan believes in me. Let's build out a system where I know for a fact that even without Dylan, I would be okay. It's that internal.
I think that's right, and I think you don't realize it when you're going through it until you look back on it, exactly. what made you succeed or whatever. But anyway, when did you get better than Shaun Deeb?
That's a great question.
I mean,
my favorite.
When would you say Tim Duckworth thought you were better than Shaun Deeb?
Well, so what had happened was I have a couple of very funny stories. This whole thing is such a shtick Tim also ran so hot that he picked me right as I was sun running. He ran so good.
Just win a bracelet
you do want
3
to bet
weeks after the.
It's good betting on horses who are on upswings because people in poker say that momentum isn't real, and it's true that.
Oh, it's 100% real.
It's true that we can't control variance by definition, and it's also true that people just go on upswings because that's how variance works. And those who are winning and playing well are doing so for a reason, right? They're showing up. And I think Tim just kind of saw that I was sun running and also playing pretty well. And he just wanted to talk shit to Shaun. And he knew that Shaun and I might have the polar opposite brands in poker, possibly. I don't know, because he's a salty boy and I'm just not. And it's
Shaun, salty boy Deeb.
Oh, I love it.
Salty boy.
I call him it to his face, I promise.
No, it's fine. I can't wait to.
Yeah. Can we start that? Can we start tagging him Shaun Salty Boy Deep? I would like that a lot.
Should we just call him right now? Let's
we
change
could.
the number in our
He'd
phones.
probably pick it up if I called.
I'd love it. But yeah, I think that the juxtaposition between the two of us, and then also the fact that at the beginning of the year I was 1 on PGT, and so Tim made a podcast talking about that, and then he called out Shaun on that podcast because of the little snapshot for the beginning of PGT, and then just ran with it, and then Sun ran so hard. He was at the FT. He was the first person after my partner and after saying good game to Chino that was there. It was Tim on my rail. He was ready. He's like, Dylan, we're doing an interview right now. I was like, you are so fucking lucky, Tim, that this turned out. You just bet on me, and I just sun ran the shit. It wasn't like a high roller. It was a 1,500. So to win one of those is insane. You have to. It's
like 2,000 people or something.
You have to run so good, and he just happened to just be there for it. It was very funny. Shaun's an interesting human when I played poker with him, because he came up to me and he was like, Dylan, I still think I'm better than you in live PLO tournaments. And I was like, Shaun, I don't agree with you. I think that you're better than me in a lot of things. And that's true. I do. I think in
hot dog eating contest, yeah.
Ooh, I can't eat a hot dog, so he's gonna win. But Shaun's he's phenomenal at doing the live poker tournament thing. He really is. He can see humans, he can adjust, he has these weird exploitative styles that do well. And I think that his specific strats in some spots break down, which is they're designed to break down. They're not designed to beat Stephen Chidwick. They're designed to beat the people at the WSOP, and those are different things.
No, we had him on at the very beginning of the series, and I think he recounted the same story you're saying.
Yeah.
Pretty close, word for word or whatever. But I don't. To Shaun's not defense or whatever, but there was no animosity or anything like that. It was more just
it was a meme.
It was just Tim said something and Shaun's not going to back down from Tim, and you're just in the middle. Just be like, yeah, it's okay. And you could be the target of Shaun's digs some here and there, but who cares? Shaun, if you don't get made fun of by Shaun Deeb, then I don't think you're a poker player.
Are you really in the poker community if he hasn't dunked on you or attempted?
It was a very improv-esque. It was a very yes and moment where it's oh, this is happening. I'm not going to turn. Sure, we're here now. Yeah. Let's just keep rolling with it.
I've known Shaun forever, and I don't get happy when I'm playing with him. I don't get happy until he makes fun of me during a hand. When he's just what the fuck are you doing, Justin? I'm like, I don't know, actually. I wish I could tell you. And he's like, come on, just be better. I'm like, all right, you got it. All right, that's.
Glad to know we're still friends.
Then, it's just all right, yeah, that's fine. I don't know, it's like a little badge of honor, a little pelt up on the wall or whatever. Shaun Deeb's just gonna make fun of people, and that's great. He's a goat. He deserves some lenience, I'd say, for that kind of verbal abuse.
Oh, definitely.
It was also super funny because every time we played during the summer, he just lost. At every table we played at together, he either punted to me or ran bad or something. And
he told us that. What did he say? I wasn't there for very long, but I think that he learned from me. I think Mr. Weisman learned something from me while I was there.
He was fucking salty. He was so it was funny. I think the funniest thing in the last event we played, I think I laddered him by 1 in the 3K6 max. So just a little cherry on the top. We both went deep in our last event, and I just out-laddered him by 1. And I was like, it was a
I hope I stopped you from getting Player of the Year.
It was a beautiful, beautiful point of karma. You talk shit on the internet to someone who isn't paying attention, and then they just don't pay attention the whole time, and then they still outrun you. It was perfect.
All right. Well, I feel like we've covered everything.
We did great.
Let's cover the future.
Yeah,
Pretty
like
great.
let's go future Dylan.
Future Dylan.
Where are you? Who are you pegging from here on out?
Well, my partner, for sure. She's into it. If she is, not gonna say.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But, so this
Let's retract to poker.
No. We can keep this in. It's fine. Actually, I don't know. Maybe I'll talk.
That's
to Emma.
what she said.
I'll talk to Emma about it. I'm in a very fun part of life right now. I made a great choice to decide to get married and buy a house at the exact same time, which was actually not a great choice, but it's fun. It's fun that they're both happening. And my current date, like I've been on the phone with my accountant today for like 4 hours, literally.
Jesus Christ.
'Cause being a poker player. And one, we're trying to like do it legitimately because I like having all my shit in a row, making sure everything is tracked effectively, all that jazz. I have a business, yada, yada, yada. So that's current space. I'm stoked on my current life. The future is a lot of the same. And then I do like executive coaching. So I work with people in the startup world, for example, that have, that either are like, it's usually like a little bit younger, maybe like 27 to 31, 32, Series A, Series B co-founders who are incredibly good at, building the thing or like representing themselves in a company, but maybe don't have good life sustainability. They maybe don't have good communication skills because a lot of neurodivergent humans don't have the strong empathy power, and empathy is very hard when building communication constructs, and that's super important when you're running a company. It's like if your capacity to like communicate well to the people below you isn't good, then it just like cancers the entire thing. And so I work with people in that realm as well, and I love that work too because it's very similar to poker in that it's human problem solving on a systemic level, right?
And where do people go to if they want to reach out to you for how to peg their opponents? Or I mean, how to
it's on the website, DylanWeissman.com. Yeah, there's a pegging section for sure. BDSM, polyamory, whatever you need, it's all there. Just ask me.
Wait, is that an actual website?
DylanWeissman.com is a website for sure.
slash pegging. Yeah. You got to put that.
I should put that on. Like,
a little Easter egg for the people who watch the table one.
You really should put like a referral bonus or whatever. Like, for normal coaching, it's whatever, $500 an hour. Type in pegging, $100 an hour.
Plus pegging.
That becomes illegal to do on the internet, and I do illegal things, which sucks, by the way. That shouldn't be illegal. Whatever. That's another diatribe we're not going to go on.
We're not going down the pegging rabbit hole.
No, we are. We're just not that specific.
Not for money, not taxes wise.
It is. We are recreational peggers here. We are not professionals.
That's true. Yeah. You got to get into our private pegging game.
I've seen professionals. Trust me. I've seen many professionals, and they're on another level. They are. You see someone like Jeremy show up to the sex party, and it's like, wow, this dude is in the solver lab. It's like he has the briefcase with all the different equipment, all the like. It's like I'm the one who's in the soft private game, and he's the one showing up at Triton, and it's a skill gap you have to understand.
I feel like there's a lot of ways to go with that.
You just stop that.
I stopped listening after he said soft private game. I was like, oh my god, I can't.
I didn't even realize that.
I thought I was gonna say something inappropriate multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I didn't even see that. That's great. Good job, team. This is a great meme that we carried through the whole one. It was perfect.
Art reads all the comments, and he usually feeds me the funny ones or the complimentary ones or whatever, because that's
send him
just
the
what he
bad ones
does.
too.
But for this one, I can't wait. They're going to be across the board.
Guys, if you have any
Hilarious.
tips or tricks about pegging, put them in the comments below.
Or if you want to make fun of us,
Please.
please
Oh,
bring
man.
it on. I'm actually quite curious about that too.
Yeah, the internet loves a good person to roast, and just look at this face. Like,
Very roastable face.
it's happened so many times. That's last story I'll tell. I came back from Burning Man one time, and there's a little pit of the internet where people just started hating on me for like a week straight. There's like one Twitter thread, and I was sitting there looking at it, and I was like, look at all this hate on this little like thing on the Twitter thread. And it makes you, one, it's hard because people don't recognize that there's a human on the other side of it. And then two, it made it so much easier past that for me to like have it happen condensed in such an intense way that now being on the other side of it, it's like you can really see that the people that are doing like talking shit in the mean way, not the fun way on the internet, it's like that's just their shit. It's like it has literally nothing to do with you. But going through that process was really powerful, and I'm happy that I don't want it again. But if it does happen again, I hope it's about my capacity to execute as a sexual worker. But because I'm not that good. But so please make fun of that.
Well,
I thought this was going to be a story. Now all of a sudden we're like.
But no, the other side of it is like the I do think that people's got to be a little bit nicer to everyone on the internet, especially in the poker world. People are just too mean.
I agree.
That's the
People
real-
are mean, yeah.
That's the real part.
Just in general, like
Yeah.
it's everyone's in these closed like bubbles, echo chambers for just like
Yeah, I agree.
whatever. That's just social media these days. I don't know. I sound like old fuddy-duddy every time I go down this diatribe, especially when it's me and my wife at a bar and like we look at like these 24-year-olds and like,
You also you're a nice human generally, and I think that because
in general though.
Not to
I'm-
dealers though. You should see him. You should not take a bad beat. But if a dealer like deals him out of order or something, man, he will.
I'm a rules follower as well.
He's a-
Like,
yeah, he's a rules
as,
follower.
as much fun as I am, and
yeah, no,
like rules are rules. Like just
helpful.
if your job is dealing, be okay at dealing. That's
yeah,
okay.
No, that's real.
And it doesn't help that that I lost the hand before.
That doesn't help. Or it does help for the comedy factor.
Oh,
but
for that part.
For the dealer and feeling good about themselves, it doesn't help. That's true.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. I own that.
All right. Well, is that the pod?
You did great.
Yeah, I'm,
Thank you for having me. This is super fun. I had a great time.
thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, friends.
All right.
Peg you later.
Me and my buddy, we making all of this money. Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us slacking. Me and my buddy, we working hard for this money. Whoa, you know I've been in my bag, yeah. Buddy, I got